Hi everybody, I'm Kristin.
I'm Robin.
And this is our new channel.
50 and Fearless.
50 and Fearless.
That's our ultimate goal.
Are we fearless?
Depends on the situation.
We'd like to be 50 and fearless. I'm 49, I'll be 50 in March.
And I am 55, just turned 55.
And we are here to share a little bit about our lives and our hopes, our dreams, and our ambitions, and where we're currently at. So how the heck did we get to 50?
I think we were just lucky, basically.
That's kind of true, right?
So what we're going to do is we're going to tell you a little bit about how we feel like we got here, and then kind of what our objectives are as we go forward in meeting our goals and becoming fearless.
That's right.
So do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Kristin, and I am 49 in 9 months. I'll be 50 in March. And I have been on a self-discovery journey, if you will, for the last couple years. I've been trying to make some health improvements, and basically my story starts back. I was a military brat. I was an Air Force brat. My dad was a pilot, and I moved around a lot. I went to 4 first grades, Robin.
Wow.
4 first grades. And I think that helped me be a bit fearless. I really enjoy traveling. I really enjoy going new places and seeing new things and meeting new people. I've actually had a rather interesting life. I have been married to my husband for 18 years. We are about to celebrate that anniversary. But actually, I was married before. I had a failed marriage when I was in grad school. I was married to a Native American who lived on an Indian reservation, and my current husband is Honduran. And when I first met him, I spoke absolutely no Spanish, and he spoke absolutely no English. So we have a really interesting story, and we will be sharing that with our friends and fans out there over the course of time, some of those little details. But one of the things I'd like to share is that I'd like to introduce how Robin and I met. Robin was my supervisor at my last job. I'm a speech pathologist, and Robin, you are?
I am also a speech pathologist.
And we took a little bit different path to getting there. I knew right out of high school that I wanted to be a speech pathologist, but that isn't what happened with you, is it, Robin?
No, it took me a long time to decide what I wanted to be when I grow up, which is what I usually tell people. When I graduated from high school, I went to a large high school, but it was in a small town in South Carolina, Sumter, South Carolina. Hi, all of my high school friends that might be watching. And right out of high school, we moved to Austin. I was also a military brat, and my dad was also a pilot in the Air Force. And we moved to Austin when I graduated from high school, and I went to the University of Texas, and my goal was to go into either broadcast journalism or print journalism, one or the other. Austin was a whole new world for me, and so UT and I parted ways after 3 semesters, and I became a hairdresser, as you do. You either want to be a journalist or you want to be a hairdresser, and so I became a hairdresser, did that for a couple of years, met the man who I would marry. At the time, he was in a band, and a friend of mine introduced us, and, you know, it was a love story from there that lasted about 4 years. And I had my son while we were married, and in that time, I joined the Air Force, and I actually had my son after I was in the Air Force. I had him when we lived in Germany, and I noticed that there were some things happening with him developmentally, and he ended up with a diagnosis of autism when he turned 3, just after his 3rd birthday. And I started watching the therapies and things that he was getting and fell in love with speech therapy. And at that point, I knew, okay, I can separate from the Air Force, I can go back to school, I can use my VA, and now I have something that I really, truly have a passion about. And so I've been doing it for 20 years now.
And for me, it was 20 years. I graduated from graduate school at the age of 24 with a specialty in augmentative communication, which is, I mostly worked with people with cerebral palsy, autism, Down syndrome, ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, post-traumatic brain injury and strokes, and I worked with people who were unable to speak and needed a talking computer. That's the easy way to put it. A talking computer to be able to communicate. I absolutely loved my career. I really had a great passion for it, felt a true calling for augmentative communication, speech pathology. And sadly though, at the age of 44, I'm currently 49, at the age of 44, I got very ill. I developed shingles in my inner ear, my left ear, and it completely destroyed my vestibular system. We will be talking about that at length in the future, but it made me a hermit. It took away my ability to drive. It made me extremely homebound, housebound, took away my career, and I was only 44. I am the grandchild of a man who died 5 years ago today, and he was 101. My granddad lived to be 101 years old and drove until the age of 97.
Wow.
So here I had a grandfather who drove until 97, and I was losing my ability to drive at 44. So, and the daughter of a pilot. So, you know, I love adventure. You know, I love new things, and I never was a house person. I'm not very domestic. My mother was a realtor. I was a latchkey kid from a very young age, and I was never very domestic. And not to mention, you've talked about your son. My husband and I were married for almost 15 years before we became parents. We became parents through adoption. I've also, I'm a uterine cancer survivor. I had a hysterectomy in my 30s, and because of uterine cancer, and so we went the route of adoption, and it was a really, really hard journey, but long journey, very difficult. And now I have 3 teenagers. They are 17 and 15. I have twins who are 17 and a 15-year-old, and we have our unique challenges. We talk about our unique challenges. So
mine is going to be 30 in a month, and I'm planning my nervous breakdown as we speak, because he should not be 30 years old yet. That seems impossible to me. So
right.
We're titling this "How Did We Get Here?" because we both have faced very different challenges health-wise, as well as our journey to get where we are right now with our families and our backgrounds. I now have documented heart disease, which I didn't have for a long time. I've had struggles with my weight my entire life. I went for long stretches where I was an appropriate weight. In high school, I was a size 5. But I'm not a size 5 now. And I also, several years ago, lost 100 pounds, but I have gained it all back since. And so I am trying to figure out, why do I sabotage myself so much? What is at the root of that? So that's kind of what I am looking at with my journey. But I do have documented heart disease now. I have sleep apnea. I have high blood pressure. I have bone-on-bone arthritis in both of my knees. And I love to travel as well. Now, I have not traveled in a long time, and a fact that Kristin loves, as the daughter of a pilot.
Robin has not flown since before 9/11.
That's not planned, and that was not a reaction to 9/11. That was more kind of my circumstances with my son and going back to school and everything. We traveled by car. I have not just been stuck in San Antonio, so which is where we live, by the way. But my mobility is really, really, really severely impacted by my problem with my knees in particular. And I really have to think twice when I get invited to go and do things. I'm now an empty nester. And so I have the ability now, after many, many years, to be able to go and do things spontaneously if I want to, or I can plan an extended trip and not have to worry about, you know, what am I going to do with my son? Is he going to be able to travel with me? What's going to happen? But because of the situation with my knees, I a lot of times will just turn down the opportunity to go and do things which I really, really, really do not like. And so Kristin and I have been discussing things that we would like to do. Traveling being one of them.
Absolutely. I went on a cruise this September. It was a really big deal for me, and you'll learn more about why it was such a big deal, but I went on a cruise to Alaska, and I have traveled even a little bit here recently. Long story short, I used to weigh over 450 pounds, and through diet and weight loss surgery, I have been able to lose over 200 pounds. And so in the last year, one of the things that I have done is get a little bit of plastic surgery, some nips and tucks, some skin removal, and that is a whole video in and of itself. But that was really an interesting experience, and I went to Mexico for my skin removal surgery, and that was really a good experience. I had a really great experience with that. But so this past September, I went on a cruise to Alaska, and that has always been a bucket list item, a lifelong dream. In fact, it's always been a dream of mine, and I never really thought it was unachievable. It's always been a dream of mine to go to all 50 states, and so now I'm down to 9 states, and we have planned a couple trips. We've thought about how we would do this, and one of the trips we want to make is and we have to stick to a budget, and we're going to talk about that in our videos, how we're going to make these dreams come true. But we want to fly to Utah, drive through Wyoming and into South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore, go to the Black Hills, see Black Hills, buy some Black Hills gold, go up to North Dakota, come back through Montana, go maybe see Yellowstone. Robin has some friends out west that we could visit and stay with and see, dude ranch kind of stuff. And I've always wanted to go fly fishing. That has always been another dream of mine. Is I love to fish, and I'd love to go fly fishing. Don't know if that's an option, but it's a dream. And then come back through Idaho, back to Utah. So that would be 6 states of the 9 I still have to get to. Then another trip we want to take, and once again, talking about budgeting, planning, how we would do this together, and what we would need to consider in this, is to take a cruise from New York up to Nova Scotia. Now, Robin, you've not been to New York, is that correct?
No.
And I used to live on the East Coast as a teenager, and I have been to New York many times, but it's been a long time ago. So we would go out of Manhattan, going through some ports, including Boston. We would go to Rhode Island and Bangor, Maine, and New Brunswick and Nova Scotia on a 7-day cruise out of Manhattan. And so I need to hit the 2 states, Maine and Rhode Island, and I would get that in that trip. So that is 8 of my 9 states. And then my husband and I will be celebrating our 20th wedding anniversary in 2 years. And so I'd like to go to the 50th state and hit 50 by 55, 50 by 52, and go to Hawaii. So,
and I will be stowing away in one of their suitcases.
Exactly. Now, Robin, you want to go to Europe.
Yes, I've lived in Germany twice in my life, once when my dad was stationed there and once when I was stationed there. And I did a little bit of traveling around, but not a lot. And so there are still a lot of places that I want to go. And there are also a lot of places here in the States that I'd like to go. I've got kind of limited...
We talked about New Orleans.
I love New Orleans.
We live in Texas, Louisiana.
I've spent a lot of time in Colorado. I love Colorado.
I love Colorado. I love Colorado.
So we want to do this. And some of the things we're going to talk about in the future also is kind of our different requirements. So we have very different diets. Now, Kristin, let me give you a little plug. Kristin has a whole separate channel called Hasta Cielo y Más, where she details her weight loss journey, the surgeries, everything. And so we can put a link to that in our description box, and you can go if you want more in-depth information on that and see her entire journey, because she started journaling,
right,
video journaling,
December of 2016.
Right, very soon after her surgery. And she well, she has a lot of things going on right now with her diet, but she was doing keto,
Yes.
to help her. And for me, with the research that I have done and my particular health issues, I'm vegan. And so, you know,
Polar opposites.
yeah, exactly. But with the same goals in mind.
Exactly.
And so what we hope to achieve with this channel, we want to, hopefully it'll be entertaining for you and give you some information too, but it also will give us some accountability, and it'll, you know, it lets us discuss how are we going to plan for things? What kinds of things do we need to consider? And do you have comments that you can leave for us and helpful information and that kind of thing?
We want to be part of a community of women. We want to empower other women who maybe are in very similar situations. We know you're out there. We know you're out there, and we care about you. We care about one another. We have reconnected recently. Robin, go ahead and tell our community here how we reconnected.
We have a mutual friend, and she had to get together at her house, and I had not seen Kristin in probably 8 years. And so she came to the get-together, which was exciting, and we had been talking. I actually found out through this friend of ours, Wendy, hi Wendy, that Kristin had a channel, a YouTube channel, and so I started watching it. And in the process, Kristin was talking about the fact that she was homebound, and she had been attending water aerobics as one of the limited ways that she can exercise. And with my knees, I had been looking for a water aerobics class that I could do. I still work full time, and I was trying to find something I could go to after work and was having difficulty with that. Well, Kristin kept talking about the water aerobics classes that she had been going to. And so that was something that we talked about when we reconnected at this get together. And I told her, yeah, I can come and get you, and we can go to the classes together.
And so we've been doing that 2 days a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and really, really enjoying it.
I love it. It's wonderful.
And it's within our scope. So water aerobics is something else we'll be addressing, because I've been going now for almost 2 years and absolutely love it, adore it. I've had numerous different instructors, so we will do some research and present to you in the future about, you know, what we've come up with for different things like that. So
yeah, what are some ways that we can work on endurance? Especially for me, I really need to work on endurance.
For me, it's balance.
Right. And just improve our health, work on our goals, get to the places we want to get to, and bring you guys along with us.
Absolutely. So that, I think we'll close it here for now. We want to thank you for sticking with us this evening, and
this was a long one.
They won't all be this long, but we're really, really excited about this channel. We've been working on this now for about a month and a half, and we don't know if we're going to have all the bells and whistles with music or editing or anything like that, but just forgive us for that for now. We're working on that. We're thinking about that, and we will get it down. We'll get it down. So
thank you, and hope to see you again.
Hope to see you again. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.